You believe your choices are your own, that the thoughts in your head, the desires you feel, and the path you take are all yours to command. But what if that was an illusion? What if the most powerful people in your life, in the government, at your job, even in your own home, are subtly shaping your every move? What if they're using a playbook of psychological tactics so effective you'd never even spot them? What if your reality is being carefully built by someone else, for their own gain? This isn't some far-fetched conspiracy theory. This is the very real world of what's called dark psychology. Now, this isn't a formal field you'd study at a university, but a term for the art of using psychological principles to manipulate, influence, and control other people. It operates in the shadows of our minds, preying on our deepest insecurities, our hidden biases, and our fundamental need to trust other people. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're not just going to name these tactics. We're going to dissect them. We'll expose the hidden machinery that makes them work, show you where they're being used against you every single day, and most importantly, arm you with the knowledge to fight back. This isn't about learning to manipulate. It's about learning to never be manipulated again. What you're about to learn is the forbidden knowledge of ultimate control. The architects of control, understanding the dark triad before we can understand the weapons, we have to understand the people who use them. In psychology, there's a chilling concept known as the dark triad. It describes three distinct but overlapping personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. People who are high in these traits are the ones most likely to use the dark tactics we're about to discuss. They are the architects of control. First up, there's narcissism. A narcissist has a gigantic ego, a bottomless need for attention and praise, and a shocking lack of empathy. They don't see people as people. They see them as tools. You're either a mirror to reflect their own greatness or a stepping stone to get what they want. Their manipulation is all about ego. They'll exploit you to feel superior, to stay in the spotlight, and to punish anyone who dares to question their fragile worth. Next, we have Machiavellianism, a trait named after the infamous political philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli. These people are the grand masters of social manipulation. They're cunning, deceptive, and believe morality is for suckers. For them, the ends always justify the means. Unlike the narcissist who craves the spotlight, the Machiavellian is happy to be the puppeteer, pulling the strings from the shadows. They are patient, calculating, and see life as a chess game where people are just pawns to be moved and sacrificed for their own power. Finally, we have the most chilling of the three, psychopathy. This trait is defined by a complete lack of empathy or remorse, combined with impulsivity and antisocial behavior. While narcissists and Machiavellians exploit you for a reason, a psychopath might destroy you emotionally just because they can. They don't feel the sting of guilt or the weight of your pain. This makes them incredibly dangerous, because they can inflict enormous harm without a second thought. Their manipulation can be the cruelest, because it isn't always about a logical goal. Sometimes, it's just about exercising power and watching what happens. These three traits create a toxic cocktail of manipulation. Someone doesn't have to be a clinical psychopath to use these tactics. Plenty of people in power, toxic bosses, controlling partners, manipulative leaders have a strong dose of one or more. They've mastered the dark arts of psychological control. And now, we're going to master their playbook, gaslighting, the war on your reality. The first and maybe the most insidious tactic we need to talk about is The name comes from a 1938 play, Gaslight, where a husband tries to drive his wife insane by secretly dimming the gas lights in their home. When she mentions it, he tells her she's just imagining things. And that's the core of gaslighting, a slow-burn psychological attack that makes the victim question their own memories, their judgment, and even their sanity. Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's a full-blown war on your perception of reality. A gaslighter's mission is to crush your confidence in your own mind so completely that you become dependent on their version of events. They want to tear down your reality and replace it with theirs. So, how does it work? It starts small. A manipulator denies saying something they definitely said last week. "I never said that. You must be remembering it wrong." They might attack your emotions. "You're just being too sensitive." Or "Why are you so dramatic?" These phrases are engineered to make you second-guess yourself. They chip away at your memory and your emotional stability until you start to think that maybe you are the problem. Let's say you're in a relationship. You have an argument where your partner says something deeply hurtful. The next day, you try to talk about it. Instead of apologizing, they look at you, confused, and say, "That literally never happened. I would never say that to you. You must have had a bad dream. You know what you heard. You remember the sting of the words." But they double down. "Honey, you've been so stressed lately. I'm starting to get worried about you." Just like that, the conversation isn't about them being hurtful anymore. It's about your mental state. Over time, this makes you feel like you're losing it. You start to think, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I did imagine it. And in that moment, the gaslighter wins. You've handed them the keys to your reality. This tactic is also a favorite in the workplace. A manager promises you a promotion in a private meeting. Months pass, nothing. You follow up, and they hit you with, "I never promised you anything. I said we'd consider it." You have a habit of hearing what you want to hear. They might even pull in a coworker to back them up. A nasty little trick called triangulation we'll cover later. This doesn't just make you doubt your memory, it isolates you. You feel powerless, you question your own competence, and you become much easier to control. Why is gaslighting so damn effective? It hacks our basic human need for social validation. We are wired to trust the people around us to confirm what's real. When someone you trust, especially someone you love or who has authority over you, confidently and repeatedly tells you that what you saw and felt is wrong, your brain starts to short circuit. It creates cognitive dissonance, that awful feeling when your own perception is at war with their story. To stop the mental chaos, it often feels easier to just give in and accept their version than to keep fighting. So, how do you fight back? The first step is to anchor yourself in your own reality. Keep a reality journal. The second you suspect you're being gaslit, write everything down. Document conversations, save emails, screenshot texts. This isn't to prove it to them. It's to prove it to you. It's a physical anchor to the truth when they try to convince you you're lost at sea. Get a sanity check. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or a therapist, someone completely outside the situation. Lay out what's happening and ask for their honest take. Hearing a neutral third party say, "No, that is absolutely not normal," can be incredibly powerful. Don't argue the delusion. When a gaslighter denies reality, do not get sucked into a debate. You can't win a game when the other person isn't playing by the rules of truth. Instead, state your reality calmly and firmly, and then walk away. "I know what I saw," or "my memory is different." Then, refuse to engage further. They want a fight. They want a reaction. Don't give it to them. Trust your gut. Above all else, learn to trust that feeling in your stomach. If a person consistently makes you feel confused, anxious, and like you're walking on eggshells, that's a giant red flag. Your feelings are data. Don't let anyone tell you they're invalid. Gaslighting works by destroying your self-trust. The ultimate defense is to build that trust back up, stronger than ever. Love bombing, affection as a weapon. Imagine you meet someone, and it's a whirlwind. They shower you with attention, praise, and gifts. They say everything you've ever wanted to hear. "You're the most incredible person I've ever met. I've never felt a connection like this before. It's intoxicating. You feel like you finally found your soulmate." This isn't romance. This is a tactic called love bombing. Love bombing is when someone overwhelms you with intense displays of affection to gain control and make you dependent on them. It's affection used as a weapon, designed to lower your guard and get you addicted to the high they provide. Here's the playbook. First, the love bomber creates a fairy tale romance. They mirror all your interests and dreams, presenting themselves as your perfect match. This phase is designed to be overwhelming, to fast-forward intimacy. They might push for commitment incredibly early, saying things like, "I know it's fast, but when you know, you know." This rush of validation is highly addictive, especially if you have a history of feeling unappreciated. But then, once they have you hooked, the shift happens. The rug gets pulled out from under you. The constant texts stop. The compliments dry up. The grand gestures vanish. You're left feeling anxious and desperate to get back that initial high. And that's where the control really starts. The affection they once gave freely now becomes a tool. It's a reward for doing what they want, and it's withheld as a punishment when you don't. Think about it in a relationship. A man love bombs a woman for a month. He tells her she's perfect, plans their future, and makes her the center of his world. He subtly coaxes her into spending less time with her friends, saying, "Why go out with them when you can be with me?" It feels so good. She agrees. As soon as she's isolated, he changes. If she questions him or wants to see her friends, he turns cold and distant. He might say, "I guess I was wrong about us. I thought we were special." The warmth only returns when she cancels her plans and proves her devotion. She's now trapped, constantly chasing that initial feeling he gave her. This tactic isn't just for romance. Cults are masters of love bombing. A new recruit is showered with praise, a sense of belonging, and a family they've always craved. They're told they're special, chosen. This intensity makes it almost impossible to question the group's beliefs. Any doubt is met with the threat of losing all that love, a terrifying thought once you've been cut off from your old life. This is exactly how Jim Jones of the People's Temple pulled in hundreds of followers, drowning them in a sense of community before leading them to their deaths. Why does love bombing work so well? It preys on our deepest human need for connection. The manipulator creates a perfect illusion, and our brain gets flooded with dopamine, the same chemical tied to addiction. When that feel-good source is taken away, we experience actual withdrawal, anxiety, craving, and desperation. They have literally conditioned you to associate them with pleasure and their absence with pain. Defending against it means staying grounded and protecting your independence. Hit the brakes. This is your best defense. Healthy love grows over time. It doesn't explode overnight. If someone is rushing intimacy, talking about marriage on the second date, or declaring undying love in a few weeks, be cautious. Insist on slowing things down. A genuine person will respect that. A manipulator will get agitated or try to guilt you, and that's your sign to get out. Keep your life. Don't let a new person become your entire world. Keep seeing your friends. Keep pursuing your hobbies. A love bomber needs to isolate you because your support system is a threat to their control. If they get moody or upset every time you spend time with others, that's a massive red flag. Watch actions, not words. A love bomber is an expert at future faking. They'll paint a beautiful picture of the life you'll have together. Don't fall for the fantasy. Watch if their actions actually match their words. Do they follow through? Are they consistent? Or do they swing between intense passion and cold indifference? Set boundaries early. Practice saying no to small things and see how they react. If you can't make a date because you have other plans, do they respect that? Or do they pout and make you feel guilty? Someone who fights you on small boundaries now will bulldoze your big ones later. Triangulation. The power of three. You're having an issue with a coworker, but instead of talking to you, they run to your boss and complain about you, conveniently leaving out their part in the conflict. Suddenly, you're not just dealing with your colleague, you're defending yourself to your manager. The game has changed from one-on-one to two against one. That is the tactic of triangulation. Triangulation is a manipulative strategy where a third person is pulled into a two-person conflict to create a power imbalance. The manipulator uses this third person to validate their position, stir up jealousy, and undermine you. It's a classic divide-and-conquer strategy for personal relationships. Here's how it works. The manipulator loves to play messenger, often reporting back what a third person supposedly said about you, and it's almost always distorted or completely made up. This serves a few purposes. It makes you insecure. It drives a wedge between you and the other person, and it positions the manipulator as the only one you can trust. A classic family example. A mother is upset her adult daughter doesn't visit enough. Instead of talking to her daughter directly, she calls her son and says, "Your sister is just so selfish. She never makes time for me." Now the son is stuck in the middle. He might feel pressured to lecture his sister, creating a fight between the siblings. The mother successfully dodged a difficult conversation and used her son as a weapon to pressure her daughter, all while playing the victim. In romantic relationships, triangulation is often about creating jealousy. A partner might constantly bring up an ex. "My ex always understood this about me," or "I was talking to my ex," and even they think you're being unreasonable. This is designed to make you feel insecure and like you're in a constant competition for their affection. The manipulator has made themselves the prize, with you and the ex as contestants. It gives them all the power. In the workplace, triangulation is poison. A manipulative colleague might launch a smear campaign, spreading gossip about you to the team. They control the story, turning your peers against you before you even know what's happening. When you notice people are acting cold, you feel isolated and paranoid. The manipulator has successfully tanked your reputation to secure their own position. Why is this so effective? It plays on our deep-seated fear of being ganged up on. When we feel like it's us against the world, our instinct is to either lash out or just comply to get back in the group's good graces. Either way, the manipulator has successfully shifted the focus away from their own behavior. It also gives them plausible deniability. They can always claim they were just relaying a message or trying to help. Defending against triangulation means refusing to play their game. Refuse to play telephone. If someone comes to you with a story about what a third person said, shut it down. Insist on direct communication. Say, if John has a problem with me, he can tell me himself, or I don't feel comfortable talking about Sarah behind her back. This cuts off the manipulator's power as the go-between. See the third party as a pawn, not an enemy. The manipulator wants you to get angry at the third person. Don't fall for it. Understand that this other person is probably being manipulated too. They're likely hearing an entirely different story. If you refuse to turn against them, the divide and conquer strategy falls apart. Put the focus back on the manipulator. Don't get lost in the drama. Bring the focus back to the person in front of you. If your partner says, "My ex thinks you're being sensitive," the right response is, "I don't care what my ex thinks. I care about what you think. Let's talk about us." This forces them to own their own opinions instead of hiding behind someone else. Build strong alliances. At work or in friend groups, invest in strong, direct, and honest relationships. If you have a foundation of trust with people, it's much harder for a manipulator to get between you with lies and gossip. A strong network is your best shield. Fearmongering control through crisis. If we don't pass this law, our country will be destroyed. If you don't buy this security system, your family is not safe. If you leave me, you will die alone. This is the language of fearmongering. It's a manipulation tactic as old as time, deliberately using fear to change behavior and grab control. It's the art of creating a crisis, real or imagined, to make people scramble to you for the solution. Here's how it works. Fear hijacks our survival instincts. When we're scared, our ability to think critically and rationally your brain's alarm system goes haywire, and rational thought goes out the window. In that state, we are incredibly easy to persuade, especially by someone who claims to be our only protector from the threat. We see this on a huge scale in politics. Leaders have always known that a scared population is an obedient population. By inventing or exaggerating a threatened enemy at the gates, an economic collapse, they can unite people and justify actions that would normally be seen as extreme. They paint a simple world of us versus them, good versus evil, and position themselves as the only strong leader who can save the day. Anyone who disagrees is then labeled weak, unpatriotic, or even an enemy sympathizer. The media and advertisers are also masters of fear. News channels know that if it bleeds, it leads. Stories about crime, disease, and disaster get far more clicks than good news, even if those events are statistically rare. This creates what's called mean world syndrome, where you start to believe the world is much more dangerous than it actually is. Advertisers then cash in on that anxiety. Security companies show you terrifying break-in scenarios. Cleaning products show germs lurking on every surface. The message is simple. Be afraid. We have what you need to be safe. In our personal lives, fear-mongering is more intimate. A controlling partner says, "If you ever leave me, you'll be all alone. No one could ever love you the way I do." This instills a deep fear of being worthless and alone, trapping you in the relationship. A toxic boss constantly talks about how terrible the job market is. You're lucky to work here. 100 people are waiting to take your job. This creates a culture of fear where no one dares ask for a raise or look for a better job. Why is fear so powerful? It narrows our focus to one thing: survival. When you're afraid, You aren't thinking about nuance or long-term goals. You're just thinking about immediate safety. The manipulator who successfully defines both the threat and the solution gains total control over your decisions. They become the gatekeeper of your security. Defending against fearmongering requires you to consciously engage your rational brain. Fact-check the fear. When someone presents you with a scary narrative, take a breath and ask some critical questions. What's the actual data on this threat? Does the person telling me this have a reason to want me to be scared? Are there other, less dramatic ways to look at this? Do your own research. Look at the facts, not just the frightening stories. Separate the feeling from the fact. Acknowledge the feeling of fear, it's real. But don't let it be the only thing driving your decisions. Step back, calm yourself down, and then look at the information again. Is this a real danger that needs a smart response? Or is it an exaggeration designed to make me panic? Break the echo chamber. When it comes to news and politics, get your information from a wide variety of sources, especially ones that challenge what you already believe. This is the best way to break out of the feedback loop that amplifies fear and gives you a more balanced picture of reality. Focus on what you can control. Fearmongering works by making you feel powerless. Fight back by focusing on what you can do. In a toxic job, that means quietly updating your resume and networking. In a controlling relationship, it means reconnecting with your support system. Taking small, proactive steps restores your sense of agency and breaks the paralysis that fear creates. We've journeyed into the dark corners of the human mind and dragged these tactics into the light. From the reality-bending cruelty of gaslighting to the addictive poison of love bombing. From the divide-and-conquer strategy of triangulation to the primal power of fearmongering. These are not just psychological theories. They are weapons actively being used in the world around you. The people who use these tools, the toxic boss, the manipulative partner, the power-hungry leader-all, depend on one thing: your ignorance. They operate in the dark, confident that their methods are too clever for you to ever notice. But today, you turned on the light. The knowledge you have right now is your shield. Simply being aware of these tactics is the first and most powerful step toward taking back control. When you can see how the game is played, you can no longer be a pawn. You can see the entire board. This isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about becoming perceptive. It's an invitation to trust your gut, to question any narrative that tries to control you, and to build a life based on your own reality and your own values. It's about making your mind a fortress so that your choices are truly, finally, your own. The world of dark psychology is vast, and what we've covered is just the beginning. If you want to keep arming yourself with the knowledge to defend against these hidden forces, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. The more you understand these dynamics, the more control you have over your own mind. Share this video. You never know who in your life might be fighting a silent battle against this kind of manipulation. And leave a comment below with a tactic you've personally come across. When we share our experiences, we build a community of awareness, and that's something no one can control. Remember, they can only pull the strings if you don't know you're a puppet. Now you know.